Just 1 second, 7.
All right. Hello, everyone. Brandon Burbank here. And I'm so excited because I have the wonderful opportunity to talk with Dr. Margarita Gurri, or in other words, Dr. Red Shoe.
That's
And
right.
Dr. Red Shoe, I thank you so much for being able to take this time out of your busy schedule to do an interview on mental health, providing insight direction for those that are struggling with mental health, as well as getting more opportunity to talk about how we can change the game in terms of the mental health, so that others can be more successful.
Well, I'm delighted to be talking with you. I think mental health is at the crux of much of our happiness, unhappiness, and success, right?
Yeah,
And one
definitely.
of the things we want to be able to do is understand it. And unfortunately, I don't think we understand mental health very well, most of us. A lot of mental health is just brain chemistry problems. And you would say I have a brain chemistry problem, but so much of mental health is not genetic and is due to the misery that either we experience at our own hands or the hands of others or events or whatever. So the first thing to do is find out how healthy is our brain and body. Go to a good doctor, go to a good psychiatrist, find out how your different chemicals are doing, your hormones, your whatever, figure out how you are. If one of my friends just found out she's bipolar, well, we're old ladies. It would have been nice, and I knew she was bipolar, and I'd been kind of telling her, go to the doctor. It would have been nice for her to know this, because she was blaming herself for being so uneven. Well, bipolar is just uneven levels of different chemicals in your brain. Now she has medication. She has more understanding of what she needs to do. Her family understands, so they're less likely to be mad or have their feelings hurt. So the main part of mental health is awareness and assessment, and then come up with a plan to use whatever resources you have individually, as a family, with friends, with your medical team, to create a wonderful life. And mental health comes from making good choices.
Yeah, definitely. And so we met, we got the opportunity to meet each other at the NSA Youth Leadership Conference
Yes,
about a week ago in
yes.
Nashville. And definitely like just excited to like see what I was able to provide of value to the kids and also the staff, through my personal experience and sharing my story in the pocket speech. Overall, what was your take on my pocket speech?
Um, I think my take was that you were devoted to helping people to understand who they are and create solutions that are workable and will add to the joy and effectiveness of their lives. That was what my biggest take from your pocket speech.
Yeah,
And
very.
also to take away the shame and blame of the term mental health or mental illness. I mean, really, I think we go way too far with that. I think with mental health, we need happiness, humor, safety, relationships, and meaning. I call that the big five of mental health practices. If you can work on those big five, then you're doing well. For instance, at this at the NSA, which is the National Speakers Association, as my friend says, the NSA that speaks, not listens, not the National Security Administration. The main thing we think about is look at what happened at this youth conference. We had two amazing leaders, Dan Thurman, who's a CSP and CPAE. He was the president of the National Speakers Association, the chair. He was amazing. And then his co-chair, Caro de Posada Rodriguez. She's the daughter of my mentor who passed, Joaquim de Posada, who was a global CSP. These are amazing individuals. Now, Caro is a brilliant attorney, an entrepreneur, and a speaker. She has a health community. Dan is a world-class entertainer and speaker who's seasoned. He's amazing. And they were there investing in these kids. Those are what, around 55, 60 kids? I forget the number.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That is already one of the takeaways. I left there feeling great, because a lot of mental health and happiness has to do with how safe do we feel? Who is in our corner? Certainly they had the happy things. happening. They had all sorts of warm-ups that were great. You know, I like the banana and I like the jellyfish. They were
Yeah.
fun. So talk about you use humor or you feel safe. We're building relationships with other people. So there was the 2 leaders. I'm next year's incoming chair, so I was there lurking.
Right.
Then we have the 8 leaders, and then we have the kids. Wow. So not only did we do a bunch of stuff, but the kids, if they wanted to, got to showcase their talents. We all also got to go to do work at a nonprofit organization, playing with kids that, because of this organization that they belong to, the McNeil Center, they were able to be ready for kindergarten, even though they come from very low income and challenging circumstances. And these kids, I mean, 95 to 80, 98% of them were reading already. So mental health is that. So my question is, what are you receiving and what are you giving? If you're in an environment that is not helping you feel like you can look at the question, am I mentally well? What is keeping my wellness levels down? Is it biochemistry? Is it a history of abuse? Is it that I'm not trying enough? Have I given up? So the number one thing I tell kids with mental health desires, they want to be well, don't do drugs, including too much caffeine. If you want to be well, you know, it takes a lot of work to be unwell. It takes a lot of work to be well. So choose wellness.
Right.
And choose happiness and humor and love and
Yeah.
meaning.
And
You know, yeah.
and just your background, you have a PhD in clinical psychology.
Yes.
And so what is your background and how is your viewpoint on life and on mental health shaped your perspective on mental health? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I get it. Let me know if I don't. I think that, you know, I had a private practice for many, many years, almost 40 years. And now I'm a global consultant, coach, speaker all over with individuals, teams, organizations. I love what I do. My big take on mental health is it's complicated. It requires, okay, so here's what it is. It requires sensitivity, awareness, and skill. I think we can reclaim our creativity, meaning, happiness, all these, the big 5 for ourselves and for our workforce with learning, new learning. We can boost productivity, engagement, the bottom line. The main thing is, are you making a difference? We all have the same amount of minutes in a day. How are you using your minutes? I also believe that routine, especially if we want wellness, whether our brains are all the way healthy or not in any given moment. And sometimes if we had surgery, it fuzzies up our brain. We've had a physical trauma can fuzzy our brain. If our brain chemistry is, there's all sorts of reasons why we get into this fog or a funk.
Yeah.
Routines help us. Get yourself up in the morning. Make your bed. Eat well. Exercise. If you don't like exercise, go outside and walk, or dance in your kitchen. Doesn't matter what you do. Get yourself moving. Think about what you're going to do. Write it down. Have short-term and long-term goals. Come up with a plan. Have a support network. So we're not alone. None of us.
Yeah.
So Brandon, how many people told you, hey, if you want help with your speaking career, let us know? Everyone offered their assistance to you.
Right.
We were all very touched that you want to take your experience with brain chemistry issues that mess with your mental wellness.
Right.
And take that message out that anyone can create a wonderful, productive, meaningful life and relationships if they're brave enough to look at the choices they're making. Make sure you assess things. Go to the right doctors. If you don't like your doctor, find a new one. If you find yourself not liking anyone, pick a friend who's well-adjusted and have that friend make decisions for you. Because sometimes our wellness mindset is such that is negative, and so nothing looks good or feels good. So if we're in a place where that's the case, pick a well-adjusted, kind, thoughtful, productive person to talk to and let them help make decisions for you.
Thank you for that. And, you know, also just on basically, I'm kind of curious about what is your approach in some ways that we can educate our youth to better work through mental health challenges?
First, remember you're not alone. Mental health
There was a
challenges.
CBS special called Hiding in Plain Sight, youth mental illness that I recently watched, and
I
it was
haven't
really
seen that. Tell
moving.
me about it. What'd
It,
you learn?
it's incredible. It's like there's a lot of issues that are involved with just kids' lives in today's world, and so how we approach that in a way that's healthy is an important way for how we can change lives.
Well, I think we have to have a better attitude about mental health practices. And I think that little kids are stuck. So if you're a teacher, if you're in a little kid's life, or if you're a little kid listening or a bigger kid, tell someone you trust that's got good working strategies, that I'm worried about so-and-so. Say something. It's kind of like, speak up. If someone doesn't have a voice because they're too young or too battered, someone else can speak for them. There's a lot we can do for kids. A lot of times we say, well, that's their lot in life, and we let them go. If a kid is super depressed, it could be that they're just being beat up, or their parents are having a rough time. Maybe one of them is dying, one of them has a serious work situation or mental illness or whatever, schizophrenia, depression, whatever. There's lots of reasons to have a home life that makes us miserable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like as a speaker too, like one of my goals is to help promote that and talk about, like, start the conversation with kids so that they can educate themselves more
All
on.
right. Well, how do you start that conversation? I think that's a brilliant idea. How do you start it?
Well, I mean, I would start by like talking about ways that we can like innovatively like reach out with your connecting support group, people that you have like that you
A
associate
little
with.
kid won't be able to find a support group. So you'll have to say, if you want to be happy, talk to an adult you trust, and then make sure the adults in that kid's life know the support groups.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful that traumatized people or very young people or both are not good at understanding the resources. They may also think they're not worthy. One of the problems with mental health challenges is that it makes us feel unworthy. Everyone is worthy. Everyone deserves happiness. No one deserves to be hit or put down or have names called. But we have to be aware that we have a responsibility to ourselves and others. If we're too young or too beaten down, we don't have the power or the energy to do that. So we have to be looking out for people that need us. If someone's underage, you can't just go, kid, you have to talk to the people in their lives, whether it's a teacher, a guidance counselor, a coach. There's all sorts of people, faith leader, a community program leader. We have to think about what can we do and what shouldn't we do. You can't take every kid under your wing, but you can reach everyone's life with programs like yours, being very specific to let kids know, if you have a problem, these are some of the options. And if you're sitting next to a kid with a problem, this is what you can do to help them. Tell the teacher you trust, tell the guidance counselor you trust, tell whatever. Because the kid sitting there may say, well, I deserve to be hit because I didn't do my homework. They may not understand the peril that they are in. And safety is number one for all of us. And there's physical safety and psychological safety. There's two kinds that are just imperative in order to be able to reach out to anyone. For mental health, I think making it fun. Too much, we get a speaker come up, say, let's talk about mental illness.
I know, right?
And they do therapy on the platform. This thing happened, that thing happened, what? I'm having a happy life now. I still have challenges.
And keep it light.
Yeah, keep it light, keep it fun, be the innovation, be the person they want to become. A lot of comedians talk about it. They talk about mental health and they're bipolar or this. They say, well, if I wasn't abused, I wouldn't be a comedian. So thanks, mom and dad, or if I didn't have mental health issues, I wouldn't be so good at what I do. So they talk about the stigma or finding, good therapy. So I'm a big believer in therapy.
I'm glad you brought that up. Stigma. What are your thoughts on how we can destigmatize our communities?
I don't think we're ever going to destigmatize the communities all the way. What we can do is help people get help. People have their prejudices and their biases. And part of the stigma is it's not me. Not me. I don't want it. So they say, well, that's just their problem. So I'm not going to get it. There's always going to be a stigma for some things. The main thing is to think about How do we talk to police or social workers or teachers or coaches, the people that interface with younger kids? And how do we give them the mindset skills to communicate in a fun or thoughtful way? How do we become that trustworthy source in
Yeah.
someone's life to get help? They need assessment, they need safety, and they need strategies.
There was
So
a
therapy is very important for people to do, individual or group. It's super important. Support groups can be very helpful.
in my book, Come Back to Success, Relentless Commitment for a Better Tomorrow. I interview licensed professional counselor Zach Garner from Skyline Trail in
Good,
Atlanta. And
good.
one of the questions I asked him was about stigma. And his approach to that was similar to what you've been saying, I believe. And that's just basically by educating our communities more on mental health, it allows the individuals in our communities to make decisions whether they want to accept it or not accept it. And then funneling in from that is the underlying approach for like this, which then comes from leaders in our communities, and then also like governments as well, to like influence specific changes in our world and in our structure of how we live our lives. What are
And
your thoughts on that?
besides organizations, there's the power of a positive individual that can change a lot of lives. You know that, you're a speaker.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about stigma. If you have beaten stigma, that means you're presenting yourself like a healthy, happy, whole person who has a mental health challenge.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I'm sad and Eeyore. I tell anyone, before you go and speaking, before you reach out too much, do not go there looking very depressed, no affect or whatever. Get yourself solid. We have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of everyone else for two reasons. One is our energy has to be enough to be able to help other people. And the other is we deserve to be well before we're burdened with anything else. And there's just so much you can do at one time. But anyone who wants to go and help with mental health, understanding how different people get stigmatized, whether it's gender or sexuality, a diagnosis, a physical appearance of some kind, cultural, skin color, injuries, accents, whatever, weight. If you think about all the ways that we can bully someone or stigmatize them, and ask yourself, how thoughtful are you in how you talk about those things? And how thoughtful are you in how you manage those things about yourself?
Yeah, and I think NSA, the general
Yeah.
session the other weekend, they did such a good job. So many different speakers,
They did a
tackling
good
that.
job with being inclusive, didn't they?
Yeah, tackling those conversations from a really trying to be neutral, but also like allowing the audience to make that decision.
Yes, and we're not forcing anyone to share our point of view. We're speaking in such a respectful manner
Yeah.
that people can be free to examine what works for them in terms of their mindsets and habits and skills.
Right.
And I think that giving people the excitement that there is something we can do. It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to start a nonprofit, but you can speak to a nonprofit. You could speak at a nonprofit. You could train the people there. You could talk to the kids. You could talk to the parents. All sorts of things you can do. And I think that mental health, one of the antidotes to mental health is meaning and fun. We need to make sure that when we have programs, it's not just sitting in a dark room talking about brain chemistry, have fun, make it fun, teach them how to connect with each other. Like our group, the NSA Youth Leadership Conference. Oh my word. I was so touched and moved. The youth leaders were fantastic. And Dan and Gato did such a good job of empowering. So if we want to spread the word of the solutions, empower people to make a difference.
Yeah.
Dan and Gato could have done it all by themselves. They're both fun. Mm-hmm. They instead empowered the leaders, and then the leaders empowered the kids. And I think you have to pass on the power, pass on the energy, and not just think it's all up to you. So those are my thoughts. And then the question is, what is the meaning of your life? If you reach one person, isn't your life meaningful? And by reaching, at first we're depleted. Reaching someone might be, maybe I'd call you and say, Brandon, I need help. Can you talk to me? I've just reached one person. Reaching doesn't mean just giving, it's receiving. So if I'm letting you give to me, I'm receiving, but I'm giving to you the chance to make a difference.
Wow.
So remember that making meaning is always two ways, giving and receiving.
Cool.
So I think we need 4 tasks to be healthy. Work and play in a way that's balanced enough for the moments that's required, or that for the context in which we're in, and then giving and receiving in a way that makes sense. It's not one-sided. So I think we have 4 tasks in life before we can feel that we're being happy and successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Anger. Anger is a gift that keeps on giving. A lot of times we're angry because we don't know what else to do. But a lot of times anger is not the first feeling, it's something else. We're scared, our feelings are hurt, we're frustrated. There's all sorts of reasons to be angry. So ask yourself if you're angry. Don't say, I'm just an angry person. I'm a person that needs to know how to use the energy of my anger in a more productive way.
Right.
I'm
How do
gonna-
you channel that? It's really key.
I think a lot of it is by recognizing that anger can be a gift. It can help us be not depressed.
Yeah,
It can help us have the motivation to make changes, to say no to people or say yes.
just like with life experiences and like mistakes, failures in life.
Yes.
It's how you view them. Are you viewing them as, okay, this was meant to be, but it's the past is the past. So I'm moving forward and I'm making myself better lifestyle, better person.
Yeah. And we bring the past with us. And we could say, this is what I learned, that if I give into this temper or let this person say this to me, then this is how I feel. So I'm going to set a limit. I mean, the past is always there with us, but we can be kind about it. I was only 5. No wonder I didn't say no. I mean, at some point and that's the job of therapy, putting things in perspective in the past, understanding from a 360 point of view, from a more sophisticated kind point of view. And then the whole goal of mental health, I'm going to remember the big 5: happiness, humor, safety, relationships, and meaning.
I think there's another one too.
I think we have
self-love too.
Well, I think that's part of relationships and meaning, self-love. I mean, we all deserve to love ourselves and be loved by others. We all do.
Yeah.
And if you're being a jerk, stop being a jerk. Apologize to yourself and others and make a difference. So a lot of times we're unhappy and we rain on other people's parade. Well, stop raining.
Right.
And maybe you can make a big difference in the world. I think sharing unhappiness with others doesn't mean we have to make others miserable. It could be we say, I'm having a rough day, or I don't know what to do. And I think we need to find the people in our lives that can help us feel worthy of love.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes we can't.
And for that approach too, like I'm a member of church. I'm Christian in faith, and I'm not pushing my values on others, but I'm just saying, like, there's this program called 12 Steps program. And what it allows people to do is, like, yes, it might be more difficult as kids to like go through their feelings and emotions, but for adults who are like have more life experience, the 12 Steps program is what it does is it allows the individual to start reflecting upon themselves, taking their life decisions, their mistakes, their experiences, and putting it into a place where they can have a better generalized understanding of themselves.
Yeah, and it's a pretty loving program. The thing to keep in mind is not every person is amenable to a program in a group. Some people really do benefit more from individual or very, very, very small group, whether it's a 2 or 3 person support group or whatever, depending on how traumatized they are. If they're total introverts, if they don't trust people, a big group, they can still learn by listening to other people. But we have to be careful that there's no one solution for everyone.
Yeah,
we have to ask, who is this person? What do they have as a resource and what do they need? And then from then we can say, what are their goals? Like maybe as a resource, they have humor. Like we had one of the speakers there, is it Clint Pulver, who was a hot mess in the classroom, always, being twitchy and moving around. And finally one teacher, Mr. Jensen, said, here's some drumsticks. You don't have a problem. You're a drummer. and he became a drummer.
Yeah.
And I think that some kids have too much energy. I know I do. And so figure out how you can use your energy, whether it's angry energy or sad energy or twitchy energy, whatever it is.
Right.
Find a way to put it so that makes you feel and be a better person and help the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Red Shoe, Dr. Margarita Gurri, thank you so much for being on my YouTube channel today. And
Pleasure.
so this will be on
Pleasure.
my podcast in the future. You guys, I'm just awesome. I feel like I've learned a lot, and hopefully you guys tuning in have learned a lot as well. Feel free to leave some comments or questions down below. And I really hope that this resonated well with you. And if there's one takeaway that you got, please feel free to reach out. And with that being said, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for showing all your support in my business, Come Back to Success, as well as my personal development and growth to help change the world and changing the conversation around mental health. And finally, just guys, stay blessed, take care, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
And Brandon, I'm proud of you. I think what you're doing is wonderful. Keep it going. If I can help, let me know.
Thank you so much. All right,
Thank
take care,
you.
guys, and take care.